Good afternoon. My name is Father Twysted Miyake-Mugler, and I'm here today to talk about realizing identity and overcoming gender stereotypes in dance. Most people know me for voguing. However, I haven't started my dance career as a voguer. I've been dancing for over 20 years now, and I'm 31. So you would pretty much, if you did your math, you would know that I obviously did not start voguing at age 10. I was not exposed to voguing yet. So I started my career, I guess, as a dancer, doing hip hop first. So I learned it in the hood. I was born in Jane and Finch in Toronto, so it's one of your, I guess, quote unquote, at-risk neighborhoods in the city. And there's where I actually learned how to dance. I was exposed to hip hop dancing in groups, and this was back in the 90s, obviously, when I was young. And dance groups are really, really in. So you had Do That before Do That even started. So that was a legendary dance group in Toronto. One of their dancers, whose name was Greg, was staff at the Fir Grove Recreation Center. And that summer, because that's the only time I was allowed outside the house, I signed up for the recreation program, and they had a dance program. The thing about it is that the dance program wasn't actually for guys, or maybe guys were not in it at the time, but I remember seeing a couple of girls dancing back then. Shout out to Shanae, and her sister Tanisha. Those were the first three girls I seen dancing, and they were doing routines, and I immediately started to want to dance at that point. I remember trying to learn the first few routines that I did. It didn't take me a long time, and I remember there was other guys at the time who were being introduced to it at the same time as me. And I remember being able to pick up choreography quickly, and I remember taking it like serious, even though the other guys were not taking it as seriously as I was. The girls would go to do dance competitions. We never did all of those stuff yet, but I knew that I wanted to do that kind of stuff, so I wanted to compete in dancing. And I don't think I've ever shared that before, at least not in an interview like this, or, yeah. So, learning how to dance back then, so I said hip hop first. I just started getting into like middle school. By the way, this was only in the summer, so we had summer programs, and then we would wrap up with a talent show that was basically for people that were in that area. So obviously my hood, we would have it at the basketball court, and this was like the last week of August before going back to school. And I remember I was already doing gymnastics at this time, and I would get to do a little tumbling pass in the routine, and that would get everybody going crazy, because it's like, oh, the kid is so young and doing all these backflips and blah, 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 blah. And then jumping into the routine and performing, right? So the summers, those were fun. We did, special delivery. We came out them times, like super, super, super young. We formed a dance group called Dream Team. And this was, I want to say I was in grade 5 at this time now, grade 5, grade 6, when Dream Team first started. And we were performing in the Hoop It Up, which was also another basketball tournament that happened in Jane and Finch, in the Lane, and everybody would come out to see us dancing, right? So when we got older, even though it wasn't that old, just in middle school, we would be invited to other talent shows where we had like people like Mad Skills performing, Ruckus performing, and these other groups that were super popular at the time, and these are fully professional dancers, right? So move on into middle school now, getting introduced into dance hall, because jams were popping at that time, and a lot of dances started happening in Jamaica in the dance hall scene, where they started having like group dances, and you see like a bunch of guys come together and do choreography, do wicked stunts and stuff like that. So we moved on from hip hop to dancehall. So that was the second form of dance that I did. Both street forms of dance, and I loved performing dancehall. Definitely not as much as doing hip hop, because I found that hip hop was more complicated, and you had more. It was just more challenging to learn the steps and stuff like that. So everybody was able to do the dancehall, but only a few of us were able to do hip hop on Dream Team. So that was one thing that I loved about doing hip hop still. And I guess I was always competitive in that regard, where I wanted to do stuff that nobody else was doing or nobody else was able to do, right? and I was sticking to that. I was dancing to hip hop and dance hall. As I moved on into high school, Dream Team kind of disbanded because, guys from Jane and Finch who are at the age of, 13, 14, and this is not just Jane and Finch, I don't know why I said that, but any hood, right, any neighborhood, right, you have that age where you're deciding now, are you going to go the right way or are you going to go the street way, right? So, and I was always considered quote unquote book smart versus those guys who are more street smart. So they always shoved us, right, myself and a couple of other guys in Dream Team to kind of continue, right, doing our thing when they were going to go street. So a lot of guys from Dream Team stopped dancing about age 14 to, do the other thing, right? And there was a couple of us that continued dancing because we wanted to at least pursue dance, right, or something to do with dance. So that is when we formed Touch International, and by we I don't mean us as the performers, I mean our coaches. So we had Josette and we had Vanessa, shout out to them too, who formed Touch International, and they were very intentional of creating a dance company that was developing professional artists that wanted to make dance their life, right? So coming from coming from Dream Team, where it was literally just come together, practice, do shows, come together, practice, do shows, come together, practice, perform here, perform there, do a little 1-2 music video. Touch International was now focusing on us as individual dancers, right? Now I know I know the topic is about realizing identity, right? But it's gonna make sense in a second. So Touch International was a professional dance company, like I said, that was devoted to showing us the real work that went into being an actual performer that wanted to make this their life, right? So getting into understanding lyrics, getting into creating choreography, getting into actually doing drills and practices and learning other forms of dance like salsa. I remember Touch International, they actually had a different instructor come in at different times of practice to teach us other styles of dance, because they said, oh, if you want to, win these auditions or get these kind of gigs, you're gonna at least have to have some form of expertise, even if you're not able to do to that level, you at least be introduced to the style so that you're not completely thrown off when you get into an audition. So at this point now, where the dancers are concerned, males were cut down at this point, and this is just in Touch International. So it was myself, Dream Team had about 12 guys on the group at one point. When it came to Touch International, it was 4 guys left, right? So it was myself, Vixen, who's also a voguer right now, Snoopy, who's also a voguer, and Shavar, he's straight, right? So at this point, none of us knew about each other yet, right? And we're all in Touch International. We've been dancing together for years, and we had no idea about each other, at least Vixen and myself, right? So we get exposed to, I guess, trying to be an adult, and we're going online and going on phone chats and stuff like that, and eventually me and Vixen actually bumped into each other online and found out that each other were actually gay, right? He gave very much like, I already knew you were, and whatever, and just waited for me. I was like, okay. I was more oblivious and kind of new to it, but he was already kind of into the scene before me, or at least had some gay friends and stuff before I did. So at this point now, we're now getting introduced into the gay community, and we're 16, 15 at the time. We're meeting gay people online, we're hanging out with them, going to the malls and stuff like that, like little young kid stuff. And then we obviously meet a couple of people who introduce us to the club. I get to the club now, I'm still a dancer, they obviously say, oh, there's a whole bunch of dancers in here, blah, 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 blah. And I'm already feeling competitive, right? So we see people doing dance hall, blah, 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 blah. I jump in, doing all kind of stuff, whatever. And then a couple of months later, at the end of the night, we noticed that when everybody would leave about like 5 minutes before the club finished, and you would have just like 3 or 4 people on the dance floor left, and it was house music playing, and they were voguing, right? And these were these were who I consider to be the real dancers among the dancers in the gay space, right? So of course you have a lot of people doing, hip hop and dancehall, like I said, but then to see these guys doing, I mean, like acrobatic stuff and then falling to the ground and doing all these flails, big spins, high kicks, jumps, and drop on the ground again. I was like, okay, I remember seeing that, and then I wanted to battle him the first time I seen him, right? And this is like, I mean, I really had a feeling like, you know what, I want to battle this person. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I started going, going up to them, and this person's name is Seven, shout out to Seven, and just doing like flips and just dropping on the ground and dropping on the ground and dropping on the ground. And as I'm falling on the ground, I remember like literally this feeling of, holy shit, this is challenging now, right? And it's like you have this challenge of like keeping the beat, falling on the ground, falling on the ground, like everything was just on the beat like that. And I remember that feeling of, holy shit, what the hell else am I gonna do? And this is just from what I've seen from the people in the club, right? So my friends also, Snoopy and Vixen, started voguing that same, well, Vixen was actually probably doing stuff for Seven before that, but I know that Snoopy started actually trying it out that day too in the club. And then we went home, and because remember now we're living in completely homophobic families, in completely homophobic neighborhoods, right? So we would go to the club, feel this complete freedom, right? And then remember that we have to go back to the hood now. So when we're back in our hood, we'd be on our computer researching, typing up Vogue and stuff like that. And the first people that we had seen was Leomi and Alora, and we were teaching each other on the phone this like midnight, 1 o'clock when people were completely sleeping, so that we could actually get some kind of privacy, even though we're both in our own separate houses, and teaching each other how to dip over the phone and stuff like that. And there was something about the feeling of dancing that was, it felt like a gay dance. And this was the first time I've ever been exposed to a gay dance where it's not like just, oh, a guy just trying to dance like a girl, if that makes sense. So, we know guys being feminine and stuff like that, shaking their ass and twerking and whatever. Back in the day, it wasn't called twerking. But just being girly, right? That to me was just one thing. But when I saw voguing, it was a gay form of dance to me that felt completely, it gave me all the same challenges of, hip hop and dancehall and stuff like that, because it was very, very physical. You had to come up, you had to go down, and then you had the street element of freestyling involved in it as well. So I literally had this feeling take over me, like, holy I don't know, like, the age group of the people watching this, but holy camoli, right? I have this is me, this is right. This is right, and this is right so much that I know that I cannot do it in front of other people, right? So people can't even know that I'm voguing. I would be online. I remember I've seen videos on YouTube, and I wanted to get in it so bad right away that I would completely cover my face in like sheets, wrap it around my face in sheets and t-shirts, just to record myself voguing and be able to post it somewhere in hopes that somebody would see it. And this time YouTube was just starting to pop, so I did get a couple of people that I met through YouTube, and this is like 2006, right? When, yeah, that's how I started getting introduced into the world of voguing, and that feeling, that I'm telling you, I realized through voguing for sure that this is who I am. I'm actually a black gay man, and no matter how much I may try to fit into the hip hop thing, fit into the dance hall thing, I don't have to fit in with voguing, right? I mean, there's no shade to the people who are gay and want to do hip hop and dance hall. I love it. I watch it all the time, and I see my sisters doing that stuff all the time, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? But there's a definite conscious decision to put away who you are when you're doing other forms of dance, right? When you're actually coming to Vogue, right, it's the opposite. You actually have to try to embrace it even more, all of that stuff. So I really was able to realize who I am as a black gay man, and realize even the shame of presenting myself as a feminine dancer, right? So there's a category in ballroom that I walk in, and I only walk this category because I was able to relate to the definition of the category, because my lifestyle literally matched up to it, where it's called realness with a twist, right? So the twist obviously is the fact that I vogue, right? But realness, I never even knew was a thing, right? And realness is just literally the the privilege of passing as straight in hetero society. So every day, no one's looking at me. I didn't really have those, yo, that's a black man, like, let's go beat him up, let's go jump him things. I never had those situations because I was able to pass, right? I was always athletic, I was always into sports. I was always keeping up with the guys, like I said, up until like age 14, 15, I was doing everything that they were doing, right? And then once I got older, I kind of used, dance, quote unquote, to shift away from all that stuff into what I'm doing now, right? And not just, I don't mean just like the voguing part of it, I mean like the community work part of it and stuff like that, getting involved in the LGBT scene. I had to use dance to basically cut ties with my hood, right? Because who I was as a dancer was not who I was in Jane and Finch, right? Or I was at home. So with this mentality now, I knew what realness with a twist was because I was already living that double life, right? I was one person, that's the realness side of me, and then I have the twist side of me, right? And then even when it comes to me performing now, voguing now, it's always like, I always feel like I have to go back and explain some things because people might just see me perform at first and just assume, oh, he's this uber feminine guy or whatever, because the dance requires it, right? The dance requires flexibility, the dance requires technique, the dance requires practice, and I'm able to do all of those things, right? And because of that, people might have the wrong interpretation of me, but then with ballroom, I don't have to explain that. Because I walked Wellness with a twist, and there's so many other guys that walk Wellness with a twist as well, that all fit in this same lens of, oh shit, but he vogues? Oh, but he vogues? Oh, but he's one of those? Oh shit, right? So it's like, I don't have to do that explaining. I don't have to be that sore thumb that stands out from everybody else. If I want to do that, I can, right? But the lifestyle that I want to live is not really what it's about. I like to be a part of my community. I like to be where I am. And I was definitely able to realize, like I said, myself and my gender through voguing and through the ballroom community having such a thing called realness with a twist. Right now, as far as becoming as a dancer now, the shitty thing about it is that I really wanted to stamp myself as a voguer. I think once I started voguing, I really wasn't into trying to like fake to be this hip hop dancer anymore, stuff like fake to do all that stuff anymore. So then that kind of presented its own form of stereotypes where people would say like, oh, well, he probably can't do it, he can't do it, right? Or voguers cannot be that, voguers can't do that, voguers can't do this, right? So, whereas I didn't really want to pursue dance as my main career, I definitely knew it was going to be something I always wanted to do, right? My fellow partners like Vixen and Snoopy, they actually studied dance and pursued dance and proved to other people in our, I guess, generation of dancers in Toronto that you're able to be a voguer and still you can be a voguer and still put on that masculinity if you want, to book that gig if you want, that we've been able to do that. But as we got older, actually, in our, I guess, mid-20s, there came a point where it's like, if what we're doing on the stage or as performers or as teachers or as artists, period, didn't line up with who we are as a person, we weren't doing it anymore. And I think that that's where I am. Well, obviously that's where I'm at now, but I've been at that place for a very long time where it's like, I'm not really gonna sacrifice my integrity, right, as a person, right, or as a dancer, just for a gig, right? Not saying that people are doing that, but it's just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna give this at this point just for a gig, unless, of course it was trust me, for a certain gig I probably would, let me not lie, girl. But yeah, who I am as a dancer, I'm just not about that. And who I am as a performer, who I am as a person, I'm a person who dances, right? I'm a community, quote unquote, leader who also dances, right? And that's what put me in the position that I am in the community. And so that's why I still do it, right? There's an obligation to me there's an obligation from me as a community leader to continue to inspire people in our community, younger guys like me, right, who are black and gay, or don't have to necessarily be black or gay, right, but younger guys who I felt like people were looking at them strange because they were into dancing or into feminine things. You know, I'm here to be inspiration to them, right? So that's who I focus on. Whereas people might just wanna, you know, get this fame and stuff like that. That's never been my goal, right? I was born in the church and coming from church stuff and want to see my people succeed. That's kind of where my heart is at. So anything to inspire my people. I definitely find that as I moved into my adulthood, I started to like completely neglect the sides of me that were masks. I left the masks alone. I left them where they were, right? I left those masks in Jane and Finch. I left those masks at my mom's house. I left those masks in church, right? So who you see is all that's left, right? And that's the real me, and that's all I can give at this point. And I'm so happy that I was able to do that, but I'm also so grateful for my trajectory as a dancer, because it's definitely molded who I am and definitely made me special as a dancer. There are not many dancers like me. There are not that many virtual and twists that can actually vogue well, right? And stuff like that. So all the experiences that I've had definitely shaped the dancer who I am today. And definitely gave me the personality that I have today as well. So I'm very, very happy about that. But I had to leave all those things in the past because it's not really, all that hiding is not really helping anybody, right? So if I was to really continue to wear that stuff, then how would I be helping anybody with that? I was helping people when I started living in my truth. That is when helping people started. That's when I started living my truth, that's when people were able to actually benefit from, you know, knowing me, being around me. So that's like realizing my gender identity and overcoming gender stereotypes, right? So when it came to that as well, like I said, I had to remove myself from that environment. So even in the dance world, where it can be shady and it can be like looking for those macho dances and stuff like that, I just took myself from those styles of dance. I focused on what I was doing and what I was cultivating the community for the style of dance that I like, right? Because there was no real community here for it. And once I started to focus on that, I started to see even the gigs start to come in from that way. You see, oh, we're looking for voguers. Oh, we're looking for voguers. I'm like, excuse me, when the hell did we start seeing this on casting calls? It was never like that when I was coming out. But because of the work of our generation, and I'm definitely proud to say this myself, Vixen, Seven, Snoopy, TKO, right, House of Monroe, right? Because of our generation, because of the work that we did as voguers in our city to stamp it as a form of dance among the dance community, we're able to, the new generation is now able to, you know, benefit from that. These guys don't have to come in, these 16-year-old, 17-year-old boys who are feminine and are already doing their thing do not have to come in and try to fake anything. They get to come in and be proud from a young age. And that is the bottom line. That is why we did what we did. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we're proud of who we are, right? I'm so glad that I was able to realize who I am through this form of dance because of those kids now who are now able to just come in and eat it from a young age because the opportunity is already there for them, right? They don't have to break down no more walls and then wait till their late 20s when, you know, it's harder for us to dance physically as a dancer, especially voguing, doing these extreme acrobatic moves. It's hard to do these things in our 30s, right? It's easy as hell to do them when we're 16, 17, 18. So it's great to know that these kids who are now that age have an opportunity of doing it at that age. I hope that this message was inspiring to somebody. I hope I was able to hit off the topics. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to. I'm definitely contactable and reachable through all social media. You can look for Mr. Make Belief on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twysted Miyake-Mugler. Yeah, and you can ask me any questions you like. I hope this was informative. Thank you so much to the 519 School of Hip Hop and to the 519 Physio for inviting me to be a part of this. My name is Twysted Miyake-Mugler. Have a wonderful day.